Happy with us and welcome to the show today. It is In the Game on New Central TV. I am Udoka Njoku, and of course there's a whole lot to talk about right here in the world of sports. And I've got great guys in the studio today. I've got Okpe Adebari and of course Ibitayo Daramola right here in the studio. And there's a league we formed, but I'll not get you guys into that conversation. It's a conversation we need to have off the camera, but good to have you guys with us today.
Thank you.
So you want to tell them what the league is, Okwe?
No. I think if I tell them what the league is, we might not be safe.
Might get heavily rewarded for.
Exactly, we'll not be safe after the show. Yeah, safety first.
All right, so before we get to our top stories, let's take a quick look at a video that I saw on social media earlier today. So we love sports.
Yeah.
And we know how lovely to be for kids to get into sports. But I saw the parents of that girl right there, how they reacted, hoping that she doesn't fall from the pole right there. If you had a kid, would you have reacted that way?
I mean, if you didn't need to start with that. You could have just gone.
Okay, let's say. Okay,
I mean, straight to the question. But I understand. I mean, it's since she could walk. They probably been with her every practice. They know her routine. They know when she wants to dismount, when she will let go of the bar, hold on to the bar. And so they ebbed and flowed with our movement, and it's easy to see they were invested emotionally. And look, as much as they were rooting for her, they were still praying for her not to fall, not to get injured. And it's parents, it's what they do. They will, no matter any age no matter the age you get to, they will worry about you. They want you to progress and still worry when you are stuttering or stumbling. That's all they show in the picture.
And Dokwe, what do you think?
The key word for me there is investment. You could see from their reactions that they are invested in this child. Just like you said, they've probably been with her through different stages. But at the end of the day, they know how good their child is. But their parental instincts will always jump out at them one way or the other. And they were just paying so keen attention, hoping that she doesn't slip, hoping that she doesn't fall. And then when she nailed it, it was relief. So I think that's just the joy of parenthood.
A joy of parenthood. And I'm sure another parent will be definitely happy as we get into our top 5 stories. We talk about Onahi Abraham Ogu, a Nigerian defender. He has linked up with Swedish club Östersunds FK, and Ogu was previously on trial at Östersunds. Now, the fullback signed a 2-year contract with the option of another year. The 21-year-old joined OFK from Nigerian club Tiki Taka Football Club International. Now, the young left back reflected on his move to his new club, and of course, he was quite excited for that move. But before we talk about the player, let's go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we'll bring you more to talk about. Thanks for staying with us. It is still In the Game on New Central TV, and I've still got Ibitayo Daramola and Okpeoluwa Adebari in the studio. We are talking about the transfer report that we spoke about, our first story on our top 5, and it has to do with Onahi Abraham, who has moved to Swedish side Östersunds, and of course he hopes to build a big career from that club. And I'll take this with you, Okpe. Now, for Onahi, a couple of days ago, we spoke about a youngster, Hafiz, who moved to Chelsea on trials. Now, we spoke about him. He should have started from a lesser league before growing into a big club like Chelsea. Now, for Onahi, do you think this is the best move for him?
Definitely, I do think so. For me, when you're at that age, you need to be playing football regularly. And when you go for trials, it's basically a short period where you just need to prove yourself, both physically and then based on what you could do on the pitch. Definitely, he did impress at Östersunds, and he's been given the deal. Now, obviously, he's going to play first team football. In comparison to Umar Hafiz, who currently took the trial with Chelsea, he had the opportunity to actually sign for FC Bodo Glimt. And definitely, if he did sign for them, he would have been playing first team football. By the way, they're also in the UEFA Conference League. So there's a lot of exposure for him. But definitely, I'm sure he was swayed by the call by Raheem Sterling. He's gone over to Chelsea now. And for me right now, the environment at Chelsea for youngsters is definitely not the best. The way Todd Boehly is currently running the team in terms of the academy, they're buying a lot of young players from across the globe. And then it has hindered the progress of players who have come from the under-9 straight to the under-21 level. So the likes of Gallagher and Mount, who were, should I say, benefactors of the youth system, they are very lucky to get that before the Americans took over. But now they've taken over, and now it's going to be survival of the fittest. But definitely, if you are good enough, you will scale through one way or the other.
And for Tiki Taka FC, a good export for them from Nigeria.
Yes, must be mentioned that Onai has been in Sweden before. He was in the top division in Sweden, FK Göteborg, got injured, then contract ran out, had to come back to his, like we call it in Nigeria, traveling club. I mean, you know, they have pockets of them here and there. They actually churn out loads of Nigerian players. And Sweden is a good base to start your football in Europe. And it's been there, understands that. So going on trial there will not phase him. He's going to a lower division than he was before. So he knows that it was good enough. It's just to get himself up and running. So it's good to see him back in his quote-unquote professional football, kick-started again in Sweden. And if what he showed before in Sweden, if he continues with that, of course, we expect progress from him.
All right, so we expect nothing but progress for the young man right there, Abraham Onai. Moving on to our second story, we'll go straight to Ghana. Now, the Ghana Premier League side, Accra Hearts of Oak, have announced a significant shake-up of their board of directors on Wednesday. Now, the Ghana Premier League Giants made the announcement following the dissolution of the old board back in February 2024. Now, the new board are expected to be sworn into their new role at the upcoming annual general meeting. Now, the new board will be expected to steer the affairs of the club for the next 4 years as they seek to propel the Phobian club to greater heights amid recent lows right there in the Ghana Premier League. All right, from there, let's talk about our third story, and we'll still stay in Ghana as the Confederation of African Athletics has invited Ghana to bid for the hosting rights of the 2026 African Athletics Championships following a successful athletics event at the just concluded 2023 African Games. Now, President of Ghana Athletics, Bawa Husseini, stated this and expressed confidence in the transformative potential of the Legon Stadium for athletes and Ghana's bid to host international competitions. Now, since its establishment in 1979, Ghana has never hosted the African Athletics Championship, with Nigeria being the host country twice in 1989 and 2018. Now, this year, Cameroon will take the reins as the host nation, with the event set to be held at the Olembe Stadium. Now, talking about the Africa Games, Ibitaya, conversations all over Ghana, some actually turned between sports pundits and journalists over there. Some believe Africa Games that was held in Ghana was not a success, while majority of the stakeholders believe that it was a major success, which has made other competition organizers clamor for Ghana to keep hosting events like that.
Depends on where you're looking at it from. In terms of how the Ghanaian athletes performed, it wasn't a successful event for them. It wasn't at all. They lost out so many events that they thought they would compete in. So yes, in that aspect, it was a failed competition for them. But in terms of improvement on facilities, we didn't get, gone with the, I mean, we've seen African Games where there was complaints after the boxing events that, I mean, the judges were this, the judges were that. Shows that the officiating and the officials were competent. And facilities, improvement, the tracks, none of international stars that came to Africa to perform, none of them complained about the tracks. And this is what we need. Facilities, look, you can improve on personnel. That's Ghana's problem. But Africa is concerned, and to the world as concerned, Ghana can host the world. They have the facilities, and they are good enough. And they've even said for some, they have equipment, 3 times equipment required. And so, yes, that's all you need to host the world. And so, personally, it's a personal thing when you say you failed because you didn't perform well. That's a personal thing. You need to improve on your athletes need to improve. But facilities, if tomorrow you say you want a nation that can host right now, probably an athletic event, probably maybe the North African stadiums, Cameroon, because Cameroon is set to host, set to host this June, and of course Ghana, because Ghana just hosted and we saw the facilities. So I think Ghana is prepared, and the cry for them to come and host 2026, it's the right cry.
You know, it was a university that was used for the Africa Games. Does this prove that we have what it takes to hold major international events? I mean, having to use just one university and all the facilities right there, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, probably is not enough. And I think for the African Games, aside the University of Legon, where the main facilities were, there was another facility not too far from it. So in Unity, they hosted the African Games, and they split events across both of them. And then talking about facilities, I was conversing with a journalist who was actually there at Ghana, and he just came back recently. And he said to me, yes, the facilities were good, up to standard, but not fantastic. In terms of officiating, the officiating, definitely, just like you said, there were no issues with the officiating, except for one boxing game in which Nigeria was actually, I would say, robbed of victory. Aside that, there was really no issue.
Boxing has always been one of
True, yeah, definitely, because for the referees, it's based on opinion at the end of the day. And then talking about facilities again, once more, for hockey, the South African team actually pulled out of the hockey tournament because, according to them and their own standards, they felt it wasn't good enough. So, but then we know that the South African hockey team is one that is used to playing international competitions. They are one of the best. So maybe for them it wasn't good enough. But most importantly, at the end of the day, the events took place. And just like you said, it was good enough.
The events took place, and of course, some have said it was good enough. But one thing that is not good enough is what happened at the Women's World Cup, where a case has caused problems in Spain. Now, Spanish prosecutors want the ex-head of the country's football federation to be jailed for 2.5 years after he cased the female footballer against her will at Spain's World Cup victory. Luis Rubiales is facing charges of sexual assault and coercion after he grabbed Jenny Hermoso and kissed her on the mouth last August. Hermoso and her teammates said the kiss was unwanted and demeaning. Now, Rubiales was forced to resign but has denied any wrongdoing. According to a court document, prosecutor Marta Durantes charged Rubiales with 1 count of sexual assault and 1 of coercion of his alleged actions in the aftermath of the case. Now, the charges carry prison terms of 1 year and 18 months, respectively. Now, Durantes also accused the former coach of the women's national team, Jorge Vilda, the team's current sporting director, Albert Luke, and the federation's head of marketing, Ruben Rivera, of coercing Hermoso into saying this case was consensual. Now, all 3 denied wrongdoing when they appeared before the court. Now, each of them could face up to 18 months in jail if convicted. Be careful who you kiss, you'll be tired.
One has to be careful. Consent, I mean, we keep learning about consent daily, and it was, yes, it was a spur of the moment, but I mean, you should know better.
Should I call it spur of the moment?
I mean, excitement, every other thing. You've never done it winning the World Cup, but you should know better. He's lost much, he's lost too much, and he's set to even lose more. He's no longer the FA chairman. He's lost his place as the vice president of UEFA. He's been banned 3 years by FIFA. He will be asked to pay some compensation, definitely.
Also lost his respect, definitely.
Lost the respect, and he might still serve jail time. Wasn't worth it at all. Just a little moment of composure from someone that should know better. And it's sad how, because under him was when the ladies blossomed. But sadly, in all this, we are still yet, okay, maybe not we, the Spanish people are still yet to celebrate themselves winning the World Cup. They didn't do that because all this controversy came and it overshadowed them. Club football resumed, and these ladies were never celebrated. Bamati, the current world best, said that the English, she envies them when English play because the stadiums are filled and they capitalize on them winning the Euros. Of course. They made major news of it, celebrated the ladies everywhere, and made sure more people came into the stadium. They won the World Cup, and yet it's as if nothing has happened. And that's what this controversy has caused, and nobody has won in this case. And more often than not, it's easier to show people that don't do this when you have a big head, a big man to bring down, to show as an example. So if most people will say, look, if Rubiales can be punished this way, how much more myself? And so, unfortunately, he is the scapegoat. I think he will avoid jail time. Yeah, I think so. I think he will avoid jail time because, I mean, obviously, first-time offender, and usually with Spain, once it's jail time and, of course, fines, the fines usually get the, I mean, so I think he will be fined a large amount of money. Vilda will not escape too. He also will be fined, and I think that the case will finally die, but lessons have been learned.
Definitely, lessons have been learned. So let's go straight to our 5th story on our top 5. Now, Chelsea's injury-hit midfielder, Romeo Lavia, will miss the rest of the season. This was announced by the club, Chelsea, on Wednesday after suffering a setback in his recovery from a thigh problem. The 20-year-old Belgian suffered the injury when making his Chelsea debut as a substitute against London rivals Crystal Palace in December. Now, Lavia, who joined Chelsea from Southampton in pre-season for an initial £53 million, has had a tough start to his time at Stamford Bridge before missing the first half of the season due to an ankle injury. Now, Chelsea will be hosting bottom table Burnley at Stamford Bridge on Saturday in match week 29. Now, Chelsea Football Club sits at number 11 on the Premier League table. I'm not going to try to drag Chelsea, but they are number 1 on the bottom half of the EPL, the second part of the table in the EPL, so it's good for them. no shades thrown.
Well, definitely that's where they are. And I think, unlike most people, I would actually blame Mauricio Pochettino for the strain on the injury on Romeo Lavia. Now, when you have a player who did not have a proper preseason, he was struggling for fitness. Before the preseason, he had a hamstring injury. Now, when you're easing players back into the team, at least give them little time before putting them into full games, especially high-intensity games. I think you should have been given some games with the under-21 side before then being pushed into the team. However, I could understand that Pochettino, at that time, the team, we know throughout this season, Chelsea has been ravaged with injury. And obviously, he needed quality on the pitch. He needed his team to do much better. But that has cost Romeo Lavia the entirety of the season. He strained his hamstring once more, and then in trying to recover, had a setback again, and now he's out for the rest of the season. I mean, this was one of the most highly rated youngsters from last season, a graduate of Manchester City's academy. He did so well for Southampton, and definitely because of his exploits, despite them getting relegated, he earned a move to Chelsea. And I only hope that Chelsea medics learn from this, allow him to heal properly, and ease him back into the team. Play some games for the under-21, 15 minutes first, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and then you can start him in the game.
All right, and for Chelsea, I think they have enough quality on the bench to not miss Lavia so much, because the quality right there in Chelsea, the depth in the squad is quite amazing, but it just depends on how the coach manages the squad for the remainder of the season.
Definitely, they have quality players. If we're talking about the double pivot, which Pochettino likes to use, his first choice is Felipe Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, and then they have a youngster in Casadei who was doing very well in Leicester City. They brought him back when they were ravaged with injuries. Gallagher sometimes plays in that position. Leslie Ugochukwu now, obviously, he's injured as well. Good players in that position. But then again, I think it all depends on the way Poch sets up his team. I blame Pochettino a lot for Chelsea's second page position where they are right now. Beginning of the season, he put Enzo Fernandez in the number 10 position. We know Enzo Fernandez has good vision, but when he came into limelight at Benfica, he was not a number 10, he was a deep line playmaker. So why not just from the start put him beside Caicedo, let Caicedo do the dirty job, let him start the transition for attack, but then he put him up top, brought Gallagher down. There are times where you see him playing Jackson on the left, he has Sterling in the middle. Sometimes Raheem Sterling is not playing properly, he's still playing him in games. I don't understand the huge wages, but then when it's costing your team points, it's a problem. And Pochettino, for one, who managed PSG before, I think under the Qatari era, talking about the manager that they've had, he was the worst coach under the Qatari era for PSG. And he couldn't even manage the combination of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. So that says a lot. But one thing we know about Pochettino is that he knows how to groom young players. But then this is Chelsea Football Club. We know them for projects and just doing it immediately. So with the new owners, what is it now? They didn't give Graham Potter time. Neither did they give Frank Lampard time when he was just there to see out the remainder of the season. So what is it for Pochettino? Are they going to allow him? Are they going to give him more time to make this project work? You know, time will tell.
Only time will tell for Pochettino if he will remain the coach of the club come next season or the remainder of this season. Only time will tell. And that wraps up our top 5 stories. And from the top 5, let's go straight to the world of tennis. And it's all about the Miami Open and Ekaterina and Alexandrova moving on to the semifinals of the Miami Open. And I like to ask, because when it comes to female tennis, we've seen great players come and go, the likes of Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff. There's also
Kim Clijsters?
Yeah, Clijsters. There's also Pegula. And but it feels like some of the opinion that we have a lot of inconsistency when it comes to female tennis than we have in the male tennis.
That's the key word. That's the word itself, inconsistency. No one has been able to, I mean, you can't say this is anybody's era in the female game. That's what, I mean, you had the Serena era, before the Serena era, I mean, Venus had her own stint.
There was a bit of consistency
There was
back then.
Davenport, there was Kim Clijsters, and Justin Enina. Then it was the Belgian girls era. I mean, for this era, yes, Iga Swiatek is world number one, but she doesn't own it. She hasn't dominated across board like these other ladies I've mentioned, where you see them going, and you already know that this is definitely worst case scenario. They will be in the final. Iga has been. She's no argument. She's the best amongst them, but she just lacks the consistency to be one of the greats, so to say. And so she has to put the game together. It's available for everybody. Coco Gauff, she's won a Grand Slam too. Will she be the great American hope like they've been looking for since Serena? Yes, one Grand Slam doesn't mean that. Naomi Osaka, we thought she had a bit of consistency. And then
issues with journalists,
mental health, and then pregnancy. She's back now, and yes, she's shown glimpse. And if she could get back up, I think she's one of those that can make a run consistency. But with the women's game, look, if you're a betting man, don't put your money on the women's game.
Wow! So even for the African contingent, now we have Ons Jabeur from Tunisia, who also features in this tournament. But it is once in a while we get to see her feature at the finals. If not being knocked out by injuries and all of that.
Lost 3 Grand Slam finals. And I think mentally, she's out mentally. Because you see her nowadays, you don't see the effort she was putting where she... I mean, last 1.5 years, it was Ons Jabeur there. And I felt she should have gotten one of those 3. Not getting one of those 3 beats you down. Look, can you fight back to get back up there? What's the guarantee if you get to that final, you win again?
You win.
And so that works in your brain. You need to... That's why some of these tennis players, they have a whole team behind them. They have psychologists that works on them, that helps them. And so I think for Ons Jabeur, it's not that her game is lacking. I think it's up there. She needs to believe again. I think she's tried her best, and now she feels, I can't win it. So let me just play consistent and go as far as possible. That mentality will get you to the top. And so I think she needs somebody to work on her psyche to get her back to that form, and hopefully over that order to win a Grand Slam. All
right, so from the female side, let's go straight to the men and talk about one man who caused the major upset at the Miami Open. That is, talking about Machak Thomas, who sets in tournaments like this, but the big boys still come out to play.
Definitely, at the end of the day. And I think Sinner is up to something. I think he's got a major goal, especially for this year in terms of the Grand Slam titles. I honestly think that he's targeting a record number. But is he going to be able to achieve that? He might be. Alcaraz, we know he's in the conversation, but Alcaraz as well, I think sometimes he could be a bit distracted. I don't really know what he's...
In Group A, we have Heartland Queens with 21 points. Nasarawa Amazons have 20 points on second position. Confluence Queens with 18 points on third position, while Adama Queens are on the fourth position in that one. Now, you look at how Heartland have performed so far. Also, we have Dana's Ladies and Abia Angels also in that group. Now, looking at how Heartland has performed so far in the NWFL, is it safe to say that the problem is not the management, is not the state-owned club? It is a problem with the male team in particular?
I think, first off, you need to understand that Heartland have been doing this for the past 8 years. They get promoted, they get relegated, they get promoted, they get relegated. So they're just, first, they are being consistent with what we know them to do. So let's get that out of the way.
Good and bad results.
Yeah, that's what we expect from Heartland. Funny enough, they won the NNL. And when they went to do the Super 6, they won the NNL. Heartland FC were first under a coach, and they didn't win a game. And then they brought in an experienced hand in Kennedy Bubuye.
Yeah.
He won 2 games, I think out of 5. And then they went back to the same one for whatever reasons. And we don't want to speculate here. But we know the stories we heard. We know the stories we heard. The old coach came back, and then they went back to their bad habits. So, I mean,
it's evidence. It's there to see.
You know, the popular Italian, Cabi, the one that has most followers, you know, once he explains something, like it does like this. So, I mean, you use your logic.
Use your tongue to
and now they've told him to rest a bit now, and now they've been getting little results here and there, but I think it's too late. It's too late. We are in the fourth quarter of the season, and it's what Sir Alex Ferguson will call squeaky bum time. teams that have done enough are still fighting harder. They build momentum and they are continuing. Now you want to start building momentum when there's how many games left. So, I mean, trust your relegation like you always do.
Of course.
Fight back, and hopefully you don't rinse and repeat. That's all I think.
All right, and from there, looking at the results now, we had the likes of Adamawa Queens also defeating Niger Rattles by 2-0. Royal Queens and Confluence Queens played out a goalless draw. Nasarawa Amazons defeated Danas Ladies by 1-0. 3-1, I beg your pardon. Now, these are the games that went down in the NWFL in Group A. While in Group B, looking at the results, Bayelsa Queens defeated Remo Stars Ladies by 3-1. There was also a big win for Robo Queens, defeating Ekiti Queens by 2-0. It was 4-2 for Edo Queens, beating Sunshine Queens. And Rivers Angels defeated Delta Queens by 1-0. Now, in that one, we see that's in Group B now. Bayelsa Queens are top of the log. So it means that something is indeed working well in female football.
Definitely, you can say that. But I think one major thing has to be the consistency in the league in recent years.
Yeah.
Maybe at the beginning of the decade, we did have issues with the consistency in the women's league. Yeah. But now it's been consistent. We're not really relying. And it's also shown in the Super Falcons and the other age grades of the female.
The Falconettes.
Yeah, the Falconettes as well, because we used to rely on our foreign-based players a lot, but I am so happy that right now we can rely on some of our local starlets, not just female football as well, even for our basketball team as well. It's the same thing as well. We can see the local talents being pushed through as well. But to focus more on the Bayelsa Queens, honestly, they've been doing so far so good this season. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen when we get to the playoff stages and how the Super Six, and how they're going to compete to win the trophy. That's going to be the most important part. So far, and one major thing I must say is the style of football. The structure, we can see that the coaches have been implementing a specific style of play for them, and the players have followed it through the letter. So, just like Udoka said, it's entertaining to watch the female footballers and the NWFL.
I think for the female football, I mean, it's the best way to give an example of what we mean to do things the right way.
True.
Players move directly from the league to the Flamingos. Flamingos, they get promoted to they still play in the league more often than not. They get promoted to the Falconets. From Falconets, they usually go abroad, or they go to the Super Falcons, and they go abroad from there. It's a structure. The conveyor belt is well oiled.
The blueprint is there.
Well. Danjuma has been with the Falconets for long consistency there. The only place we have inconsistency is up there. When we keep changing those coaches. When you're about the Flamingos level, at the league level, at the Falconets level, it's the same thing, and it keeps churning out talents. For the past 6-7 years, you could reel out players that have come from the league, playing for the Falcons, Super Falcons now, and are playing either in Spain, France, directly. They move directly from the Nigerian league. They don't go to obscure Europe, mainstream Europe. They go to France, they go to Spain,
Germany,
they go to Germany, they go to USA. And this is what we mean when the league is healthy. And kudos must go to the board of the Nigerian Women's Football League.
All right, and of course, just so you know, it is a new board, and they promised us an interesting league, and that's what we've been having so far in this new season, talking about the NWFL season. And the board has been led by Nkechi Obi. Great job that she is doing right there as the leader of that team. Now let's talk about grassroots sports, going straight to Abia Sports Festival, which has just been concluded. And of course, it has to do with about 6 days of important games that were played over there. Of course, the organizers have stated that the event has been a success so far. We have our own News Central's Chinwe Ugele, who was at the closing ceremony of the sports festival, tagged Unity Games for secondary schools in Umuahia with this report.
For 6 days, the students drawn from secondary schools in all the local government areas of Abia State competed against one another in at least 24 sports in a freshly introduced festival of sports. Even the disabled ones participated in specialized sports like para-powerlifting, which exposed their capacities for the first time. The Chief of Staff, Pastor Caleb Ajaba, who represented the governor, was sure the event achieved its aim.
And he is starting what can be done as a foundational step that will launch many of us who remain focused to global reckoning. Abia State is coming.
At As for the State Director of Sports, the gains of the 6 days were enormous.
That coach George, came to me with smiles and close to tears. Said, Director, I have gotten 6 solid stars in that. The same thing to athletics, the same thing to weightlifting, the same thing to Scrabble. And in fact, in that of Scrabble, the coach said, I have gotten a genius.
For many years to come, these teenagers who have exhibited great skills will tell the story of leaving their homes to be camped in the state capital, only to showcase their hidden talents.
I will, and I will do it, and I will continue doing it until I become perfect.
I want them to help me in football first before going to any university.
I hope going to represent Nigeria.
After now, I'm not going to drop after my secondary school.
I like the training since 2021 that I started the training. This year will make me 4 years of starting this training. So I will keep on trying my best. I will not stop this training.
The beauty of every competition is the ecstasy that comes with victory, but basically the new friendships and alliances formed among people who were hitherto strangers, and the hope that great opportunities await the athletes in the future. In Umuahia News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
Great opportunities await these athletes in the near future. Now we keep talking about that future. The future is here. If we do not have events like this, we can't discover talents. Now, if we discover these talents, what do we do with these talents? I've gone to basketball courts where I see youngsters playing basketball. I mean, I played back in the day, and I didn't make it there to the big stage. Now I look at these youngsters, and they're playing because they want to get to the NBA, not even playing in the Nigeria national team. And I will not be the one to kill their dreams by telling them it won't work. Because there has to be a structure. You need to, yes, you have the talent, but where is the training facility? Where is the league you're going to feature in? Where is the club you're going to play for? Who is your, there's a progressive state that you need to go through before you get to the top. But if we don't have things like this, these talents are dead.
A platform, very, very important. No matter how good you are, if you don't have a platform to showcase your talents, it remains hidden, and nobody discovers it, and then as you age, it dies with you. This is where it starts from, really young. Growing up, I remember virtually every school I knew, every primary school had a playing field.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a block of flat of 6 blocks, it's a whole secondary school. Where do they get to develop? Where do they get to exercise? What Abia State has done is tremendous. It is great, as long as it's consistent.
They have light too.
They have lights now. Yeah. Not all. I mean, it will reach all last. But so you know, if there's consistency with this, scouts can easily go. Yeah. Professional clubs can easily go. Yeah. We have. I mean, I was on a platform 2 days ago where I saw a private individual who says he owns a boxing club, and there are pockets of boxing club in Lagos. I didn't know that. So professional clubs cannot. The athletic clubs too. They can go and see, okay, here's a budding talent. We just needs to push here and there, and then one, that helps the kid develop. 2, whether you like it or not, once you can blossom, it can take you out of poverty. That not only helps the child, helps those around the child too. And so we all can't go to school, get the degree, and of course come out. Yes, you still need to go to school, but we all can excel in school. You might be talented in sports, and this is the platform to expose yourself. And it starts really, really young. I'm excited about this, and hope every other state emulates this. So eventually, this is where I want to conclude. Eventually, when the National Sports Festival comes around, there won't be poaching of athletes. Wow. They won't go to Anambra State and ready-made athletes and say, "Here, come, we'll pay you 10,000. No, it will be your homegrown talent exhibiting what you have, because National Sports Festival is just who get money pass. Definitely. And that's why we know those that always win. They are the ones that always pay. I mean, let's be honest about this.
You know, okay, I served in Zamfara, and I remember one time they were going to have the National Sports Festival. I was on the basketball court, and these players were talking about, yes, Imo State don't pay me to come play
for them.
And I'm like, so I asked an honest question. I said, why can't you play for Zamfara? They don't have the money. But you're currently playing.
But they have to feed. I mean, you have to understand this. There's no program, there's no all year round program for them. Like, okay, we know that January there will be an event here, March there will be an event here.
Yeah.
So we can make money from here. This. There's no all year program that's guaranteed for them. So when these events come around, they have to exploit it too, because they themselves are being exploited. They have to exploit it too and say, who pays more?
Exactly.
Who pays more? Look, I have the current champions of the league, MFN basketball, the female league.
Yeah.
Last National Sports Festival, the team was decimated. This one took one. I think Rivers that took 3 of them. Bayelsa took 2, and they didn't come from these states.
Yeah.
But you can't tell them don't go and play for these states.
Of course not. They need to make a livelihood. You know, for the last month, I've been in conversations about multi-sport tournaments and what Nigeria can do. The first thing is investment. If across board we invest and create structures for these athletes and for these young kids, especially from the grassroots level, because at the end of the day, if you're talking about success at the main stage, at the professional level, if you've not started grooming them from the grassroots level, it will be very difficult for you to be successful. At the main level, look, at the end of the day, for different sports that we've had, we know that in recent years, we've been taking from our players in diaspora. These players, some of them genuinely have the interest to represent Nigeria. And some of them is because they cannot break through those countries that they are in. Yeah, that's why they come to Nigeria and they want to play for Nigeria. However, if we develop from the grassroots level, we implement good values and policies in these players, and we treat them in the right way. These players want to earn a living through their passion. It is possible. We see it in other countries. So why not? If we can create a platform whereby they are able to earn well from their passion, they will be happy to represent the country. When we have these games, you will see able representation. We need to definitely invest in our grassroots, because as the days are going by, even though we've got a lot of people in diaspora, at the end of the day, those countries over there, they would want to do their best to secure our talents to represent them.
Yeah, the best of our talents.
Exactly, the best of our talents. So we need to look inwards and do what needs to be done.
We need to look inwards and do what needs to be done. And I hope that going forward, I mean, we used to have sports like competitions like the Nipo Gadas, the Nigeria Polytechnic Games, the Nuga Games, Nigeria University Games, the University Games, that's African University Games as well. Yeah. A lot of competitions that we have, even the inter-house sports from the tertiary to the top. We need to bring all of these events back, and I'm sure we can invest in these talents and see them become world beaters yet again. All right, let's move on to basketball as we wrap up with the show. And it's all about the NBA as we are gradually inching closer to the NBA playoffs. This man on your screen, of course, the one you saw before, talking about Steph Curry now, he has broken records in the NBA. He has led the Golden State Warriors to big wins in the NBA, but they are 10th on the conference table, and they're hanging by a thread. Do you think the Golden State Warriors will make it to the NBA playoffs?
They are only on to the last playing spot. It's really, really tough. Yesterday was one of those games where first 2 minutes, Draymond Green was ejected. Yeah. And whether you hate him or like him, he is one of the most important players for them. And Steph had to carry the team again on his back. We've seen Steve Kerr complain that Steph can't play every game.
Of course.
He's been carrying the team older. I mean, he's getting older. They have to rest him some games. And you don't need these mistakes, because the team hot on their back is the Houston Rockets. The Rockets nobody thought the Rockets would. They were a bunch of players just discarded from teams, players not needed from teams, and they assembled themselves together, and here they are knocking on the door of playing and actually looking to push out a team like Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors need to win every game. I think we have only 10 games left or so for the season to end, and Golden State know they need every win. Yeah. Not depending on what Rockets will do, because they've been consistent in the last 10 games. And so they need everybody to be on their toes. And unfortunately for Steve Kerr, he would need Curry to play almost every game without any rest for them to first guarantee a play-in before even the playoff. And so it's a tough thing. But I think I can confidently say, I said that before, and then they won the title, which was surprising to everybody. Yeah. But I think I can confidently say the era is over for the Golden State Warriors. It was good. It was fun. 4 titles, no mean feat.
We'll see how they will survive these playoffs if they qualify for the NBA playoffs. And I'm actually wishing they get to the playoffs, and if they do, you see them blowing hot in that one. Let's talk about the LA Lakers before we go. Talking about LeBron James, who scored his fourth triple-double of. Okay, as we go, let's quickly take a look at the results of those games they played in the early hours of today. You see the likes of Charlotte Hornets beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 118 to 111. The State Warriors defeated Orlando Magic 101 to 93 points. Clippers beat Philadelphia 76ers 108 to 107. And for the San Antonio Spurs, it was a 118 to 111 win over Utah Jazz, but they are bottom of the table, no chance of qualifying for the playoffs. But they want to rebuild, and next season they will come back strong. All right, that's all. We'll draw a wrap on today's show In the Game on News Central TV. I am Udoka Njoko. Thank you, Bitayo Daramola, for coming to the show.
Yeah, pleasure.
And Okwe Adebari, good to have you.
Thank you.
Keep a look down to News Central TV because we give you the best when it comes to TV programming. Do enjoy the rest of your day.